if you looked at his ticket prices, it was here in London after it sold out. Every ticket was $2,000.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, but concerts in general are like so much more expensive than they ever were. Like when we went to concerts when we were younger,
$20, not even.
But the reason for that is because the industry changed so much. That's the only way they can make their money now. They don't make money off record sales anymore, right? So like I used to spend all of my money when I was like in grade 9 and grade 10 on CDs. Like I'd literally get my paycheck from like working at Tim Hortons. I go right to what was it? HMV. I go right to HMV or like Future Shop.
Yeah,
doesn't even exist anymore. Both of them don't exist anymore, I feel.
What's the one in the mall? It's like it's in White Oaks Mall. It's around the corner. It's like across from Hudson Bay.
I know what you're talking about.
It's frick. What a way to kill a convo right there. But
I know Sunrise.
Yeah, Sunrise. Exactly. Yeah. And they've been there forever. It's a staple.
You know what other place I loved? The Beat Goes On.
The Beat Goes On.
It's in White Oaks. You could go there.
Was it yellow symbol?
Like, yellow symbol. And you got all your like used CDs and stuff. Yeah. And I used to love finding like just like an obscure.
It right over here, actually. It's right
still
by
there. It's still
by
open.
Denny's.
Yeah, it's still open.
Dandy's. That's where it's by.
Yeah, you could still go there and buy DVDs and Blu-rays and shit. And like I just and then I eventually when I transitioned away from having all that stuff, I eventually just brought everything that Beat Goes On and sold it all there back to them.
Damn.
Yeah. So now I don't even have like any physical CDs or movies or anything anymore. It's all out of my house.
But that's the classic stuff.
Like, I saw J. Cole for $50 at Music Hall.
Yeah.
$50, J. Cole.
That's
like Born Sinner tour. Like, you can't find that anymore.
What was your first concert? Like ever?
That was, I think, my first concert
J.
ever.
Cole?
J. Cole.
That's a pretty good one.
My favorite artist. J. Cole's my favorite artist, and that was my first concert ever.
Yeah. What was your favorite? What was your first?
My first one, honestly, was actually a festival.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
my cousin took me to Digital Dreams on my when I turned 19.
Yeah.
He's like, here.
So who was the headliner?
Luciano and Tiesto?
I
think Tiesto and Luciano. They went back to back. It was on the beach because they had this is when like Echo Beach was still like a thing on Ontario Place.
Yep.
And it was the best way to describe it was this. It was like stellar. I'm still fascinated by like how it was just from looking at the light show. But then when you're sitting there, is you could get to the middle point and you could step 2 steps to the left and only hear Luciano. You took 2 steps to the right and you hear Tiesto, and they were just back to backing each other.
Just some guy just in the middle, fucking just.
Yeah, that's like I was with Hannah because Eduardo was like so.
So you're getting it from like both sides.
Yeah, and I was like, so I went with my older cousin because he's 6 years older than I am, and his always thing was he's like, all right, when you're ready, I'm gonna take you out.
I love that.
And then so when I hit 19, he's like, all right, we're gonna go to a festival. And
what about you? What was your first?
My first concert ever was 50 Cent and Fabulous opened at JLC.
Really?
John LeBest Center.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 50 Cent, Fabulous. Well, actually, it wasn't 50 Cent. It was G Unit. So it was G Unit and Fabulous opened, and then David Banner was the opener.
David Banner.
That was a sick lineup. David Banner, Fabulous,
that's
and
rowdy. That's sick. That's actually that's crazy.
Those are classic OGs too. Like even like that just reminds me of like Def Jam. Remember that game?
Yeah.
Def Jam.
You know what? I'm getting my shit mixed up. My Fabulous was the headliner, and Joel Santana opened for him.
Yeah,
that was my first concert. Then I went to the G Unit concert, and David Banner opened for G Unit.
Okay,
so G Unit was different. Like they had like the shoes and their like clothes. Like they were like a brand. More than just like a group. It was sick
for sure. Yeah. What was your what's been the best concert you ever went to? Like those concerts were great nostalgia because like they were my first, so like it was an experience. But they definitely weren't like my best concerts.
Best, honestly. Let me sit on this one. Go.
Honestly, I've only been to 2. I've only been to
really?
to Astroworld, Travis Scott, and then the J. Cole
Travis
one.
Scott must have been crazy.
It was crazy. It was sick, but honestly, like J. Cole was better for me because like it was a smaller venue and like it was so funny at that time. My girlfriend and I got in a fight, so she fucked off early. So I went to the very front. So I'm there like turned by myself. J. Cole's right in front of me. That was for sure my favorite.
That's cool.
Save her.
Yeah. She don't want to be saved.
I love that. Yeah.
No, honestly, I want to say like mine are mostly festivals. Festivals have been like the big thing, right? Like I remember even
it's more of like an event and experience, right? Like you're there for like a lengthier period of time, right?
Exactly, and you gotta like you're immersed in it. And even the prep before the festival. Like for mine was I actually can remember the artist. It would have been Benny Benassi when Ever After when Paul was actually performing.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. Benny Benassi dropped like it's like Sensation. It's like that song. It's like He dropped that, but it was like this one mix that I haven't been able to find it. I've looked everywhere on the internet. It's not on
just
there. He just did it for that event, and it was the most disgusting beat I ever heard in my life. And I was just like, okay, this guy's a boss.
All right, let's kick in.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, I mean, well, that was a nice. That was a nice segue. Yeah, right? I love it.
So everybody,
I'm excited for this, boys.
We're back for another episode. Got a great guest today. Our boy, entrepreneur Joel Richard.
Yes.
So, Joel, thank you for coming on today. And I do want to say, like, what got you into entrepreneurship, man?
Yeah, so that's a pretty loaded question. I'll try to answer it concisely. I kind of went through the traditional route. Like I did everything that they said you should do, right? I went to school. I got my master's degree. I got a good paying job. I went into the corporate world. And I just felt like there was always this like itch I couldn't scratch. I always felt like I was kind of meant for more. And I always felt like in the world I was in, I wasn't being used to like my greatest abilities. So that kind of took a long time for me to realize, hey, I want to really see what I'm made of and figure it out. And it took me a while to kind of land on the thing I wanted to do. So for a long time I thought, hey, maybe I'll look into opening up a bar. And I started doing some research on that. A lot of overhead when you got to find a building, and then you got to pay for a lease and all that kind of stuff. And there's a high failure rate in that industry. So I was like, okay, that's maybe not the right fit. And then Roberto, my business partner, and Roberto's been cutting my hair for forever. When you're in the barber chair, you're always shooting the shit about like your ideas and your dreams and stuff, right? And we started talking about business ideas and how we could work together. And I knew that Roberto worked his ass off no matter what he did. And I do the same, right? So if I say I'm going to do something, like I'm grinding, right? So I finally kind of came across this idea of a mobile bar business where I was like, hey, it's kind of like a bar, but low kind of barrier to entry. All we need to do is basically advertise that we have bartending services, kind of get insurance and stuff lined up. And then it's really a marketing play. And then you got to execute on it. And then, we did that. And then next thing you know, kind of it started snowballing. And, I started the mobile bar business and then got connected with people in the industry, reconnected with Fresh, started doing a podcast, found the Forest guys. And now, I'm part owner of the brewery. So like and that's a story in and of itself, but all these things kind of migrated. So I didn't come into entrepreneurship with this grand plan of like what it is today. It kind of just evolved organically into it. And it's going to continue to do that.
I guess like, let's take it back to like, when you're working, I guess a full-time job, or are you a student at that time as you're like, trying to like become this entrepreneur or?
Yeah. So I think it's maybe a good place to start. Let's go right back to the beginning.
Even dude, what'd you go to school for?
Yeah, so I'll go right back to the beginning. So it actually starts in high school. So in high school, I was interested in sports and having a girlfriend. That was it, right? And like most guys, right? And then in grade 10, I remember my parents kind of having to sit down with me, and it was kind of like the aha moment. They said, "Listen, Joel, like, we don't have a lot of money. We don't have any money like put away for school for you. So if you want to go to university, you're going to have to either like pay for it, get a job, and or get OSAP loans, right?" So I was like, fuck, I don't want to be in debt like right out of school. So I kind of just like triggered it in my own head. I was like, you know what, I'm going to dedicate myself to like my grades. And I did that. So in grade 10, I was like a 70 student. And then by the time I graduated grade 12, I graduated top of my class. Nice. And I got a full ride academic scholarship at Western.
Awesome.
So that kind of solved that problem.
What was it for?
I ended up doing a degree in history and religious studies. Oh, yes. So major in history, minor religious studies. I wasn't going to do my master's. So I just wanted to kind of get out there and make money. But I ended up getting a scholarship to do my master's. So they're like, here's 30 grand. And I was like, okay, fuck, I'll do my master's, I guess. Right. So,
and do you think like that was fulfilling at that time? Like that's kind of like what you were aiming for, those like.
Sure. Yeah, it was. And like, if money wasn't an issue, like, and I had access to all those resources, I'd probably be like a lifelong academic. Like I really, really enjoy the process of learning. I enjoyed the process of teaching. So like when I became a TA and did my master's, so like that's all things that I'd probably go back and do my PhD for fun because I enjoyed that process. Yeah. And at that time I was in it and I really enjoyed it. But what became really clear at that time is the only thing you're really going to do with like a PhD or even a master's is go into academics and teach. And there was no jobs in academia at that time. So I had to make a decision to like kind of let go of academics and academia and move towards like the workforce. So that whole time I was doing my master's, I was working full time at the bank because it was important for me to kind of get involved and have a piece of real estate. So I bought my first piece of real estate when I was 21. Nice. So I was in my undergrad. So in order to keep that piece of real estate, I had to be working full time and going to school full time.
What was that job?
I was working at Citibank as a bill collector to start. And then I stayed there for kind of the whole length of my university, right until the end of my master's. And then by the time I graduated, I was like in compliance, a compliance analyst. And what that allowed me to do is look for a job outside of that kind of bank world that was kind of suited to compliance analytics. So I ended up becoming an internal auditor for a company here in London called EMCO. And then I grew my career within that organization. So I'm still there today. Yeah. And I've been there for over 10 years now. But I'm now in the highest role in health and safety. So director of health and safety for Canada. Yeah.
Do you find like being in like the corporate world of the bank kind of helped you like kind of navigate where you're going through now?
I wouldn't say the bank. I would say like the biggest transition and like what helped me the most was actually probably my 10 years at EMCO and transitioning. While I was there, I also did my master's in business. So, you know, I had the opportunity to kind of continue to dive into my education, but then also just learn the practical skills of like, hey, how does a business get this big and become, you know, this profitable? What are some of the, you know, things they do really, really well? A lot of it is like, it seems like, you know, corporate jargon and bullshit. But a lot of that you can actually, when you're building a startup, it's really, really important. Things as simple as what's your vision, right? Like, what are you really trying to do? And what are you executing on? If that's not clear for you, then it'll never be clear for the people that you bring into your organization. So it's really, really important to have a vision, have a mission, have core values, right? Even as a startup. Even if you've only got like yourself and your wife, have those things laid out because, I mean, obviously the plan for most people is to grow your brand, grow your business. And it's a lot easier to convince people to come on board when they know what you're trying to do, right? And they can really kind of buy into that vision. So that's something that's a page right out of the corporate world. Okay. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually interesting the way you apply like the corporate, like that into building your small business, right? Like,
yeah, and I think it's just there's a lot of politics in you know in any big business. So learning how to navigate the politics, the people, and you know there's certain ways that you can kind of achieve things and have influence over people that don't directly report to you. When you get into the world where you're running a business, as you guys know, it's all about relationships and how you manage those relationships, right? So. I'm not saying that in a way where, you want to like try to take advantage of the people that you're like getting in contact with. It's more from the perspective of, you know, there are going to be times where you mess up or you maybe, you know, you don't come through on something or whatever. Well, you still have to manage that relationship after that happens, right? And it's the same like when you're working for a business. You're not going to meet a deliverable or whatever. You still have to be able to kind of get through it.
So was it hard for you to like, I guess, start this new life with starting this business with Roberto? Like, was that like hard for you to like accept that as a person?
I would say I'm still kind of in the thick of it, right? I would say I made one thing that I know about myself and like my career path, my trajectory really kind of shows it is that once I make a decision to do something, I'm fucking doing it, right? Yeah. So once I decided, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to see how far we can take this, then I wasn't taking no for an answer. It's either I'm going to fail and then I'm going to be at the end of it and be like, you know, I'm very happy that I tried and I gave it my all, or I'm going to make it a huge success.
And were you in previous like business partnerships before? Like, or is this your first one?
This was everything that you see here is my first businesses. You know, I had dabbled in real estate investment. that's not truly a startup business, right? Mm-hmm. So these were my first businesses.
Okay.
That's not true. I did a little bit of consulting work. So I started a consulting business called Richer Business Solutions.
Great name.
Yeah.
Great name. Crazy.
Yeah. When I was I would say a couple years before COVID, I was working with a buddy that owns a vape company, T-Vape in Toronto, and he was looking for basically risk management consulting, and that's what I do for a living. So I was like, well, let me just open up a business and monetize this a little bit. Yeah. So that was my first kind of step into like doing something entrepreneurial.
Do you see that coming back in the future when because that definitely seems like a role that kind of develops over time, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's not like you can start it off right away, but I feel like as years go on, you just become more sharpened with that knife.
Yeah.
Do you think that knife could come back out later on?
I don't think in that capacity. I think maybe as like as a professional coach, it would come back in that way. So like consulting other business owners and how to like grow their brands, grow their personal brand, grow their businesses. I'm kind of learning as I'm going, so I'm definitely not, I would say, the expert right now. But I would say that when you look at the landscape of the mobile bar industry, I could definitely see myself becoming an authority in that space because I've already quickly become, or built that business in a really, really strong way comparatively to other mobile bar businesses. There's a lot of other successful ones, but I think that that's where I could add the most value to an audience. Right.
Yeah. And how many businesses are you a part of?
A lot.
That's a good mind right there.
Yeah. So, can be six.
And how are you able to manage and prioritize your time on each business?
Yeah, with great difficulty. Yeah, I would say I'm the type of entrepreneur. I think I saw Gary Vee talk about this the other day. He's like, I'm like the most fucking disorganized entrepreneur you'll ever see because I've got like a million things going on. And it was great hearing that from like a Gary Vee because that's one of the like things that I feel like sometimes I'm just like all over the map. Mm-hmm. But that's what keeps me the happiest. I like having like a million things going at once and being able to like add value here, then like quickly add value there and kind of be at that like strategic scope level. And that's kind of the role I play in all of the ventures that I'm a part of is how do we continue to, build those big roadblocks, or foundational blocks on top of each other. So that's how I manage it is I manage my role within those businesses. So I try to step out of the day-to-day of the businesses and quickly find someone that's better at that than I am and have them take care of it.
Yeah. So definitely the idea of essentially like delegating it to somebody that's better, right? Because it's like time is of the essence. And I assume like most of your time is best kind of like building a business versus actually working on the business, right?
Yeah, you have to know how to delegate and you have to be willing to delegate, right? There's definitely things that I've delegated that I know I could do better, but I have to be okay with like the sacrifice almost of saying, okay, like someone else is going to do it. It's not going to be perfect, but this other thing is more important in terms of like the grand scheme of things. That's really hard to do, especially if you're a little bit of a control freak, which I kind of am a little bit, right? Like I like to like be in control of where things are going and how things are happening. You have to consciously kind of remind yourself to just take your hands off the wheel. Don't say anything. Let it happen. Mm-hmm. Right. And even if it like doesn't go the way you want it, you can always make an adjustment. Right?
Yeah. Cause I was like, it's probably tough to balance like 6 businesses and like not feeling like outstretched. And like as an entrepreneur, I bet you started that first business and you're like, I can do another one. And like us entrepreneurs have that. Cause like I have like a cleaning company. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can do that. And it's like, when do you know when to stop or when do you know when to go to the next venture? Like what advice do you have on that?
I've just let it happen organically. So I don't try to force any of the things that I've been involved in. If they happen, it's because they happen the way that they should develop. Obviously, like I've orchestrated a lot of like what of the things that I'm involved in, but I don't think you necessarily like if you feel like it's right and the opportunity's there, then you got to strike when the iron's hot and you got to make it happen. So yeah, my advice would be don't force it and just let it happen organically, and then organically you'll know like when you need to pull back too, right?
Yeah, because I was gonna ask like when do you know when it's time to let go of a project?
Yeah, I don't try to let go of things. I try to delegate things. So if the project is becoming overwhelming for me, then it just means I'm not the right person for it. It means that I need to try to pivot with my team and find, the right person, or get the team together and say, collectively as a group, is this something that we should still be focusing on?
Sure.
Yeah. And then shift it.
And then how do you pick the right people for your team when you're going about this like building stage?
Yeah, I think the beer test is great. So like, can I have a beer with them? Right? Like, it's just like, or like beer, you don't have to be beer. Like, can you go and have a coffee with that person? Right. And if you've watched some of our podcasts, one of the things that I actually took from the corporate world and I use as part of vetting the people that I kind of keep close to me or have work with me is, do they pass the SWAN test? So have you heard the SWAN test? So SWAN stands for S is smart.
Okay.
W is works hard. A is ambitious, and N is nice. So as long as you're smart, you work hard, you're ambitious, and you're nice, I can teach you anything else. Right. Mm-hmm. I've got lots of faith. Like you got to have a base IQ to work with, right? Like I got to be able to there's got to be something there for me to work with, but that's kind of where the smart comes in, right? Yeah. So if you're smart enough, you'll learn it, right? And then you've got all those other attributes, you're going to be probably a pretty good fit, right? Okay. The only other thing I would say that, I look for is I got to be able to trust them, right? I've got a really good sense of like my gut feeling with people. There's just some people that I run into where I'm like, I don't like that person. Yeah. And there's no reason, like, they've never done anything to me, but like my gut will just say like, keep away from that person. Mm. And I listen to my gut quite a bit. So it's never done me wrong. And the times where I've ignored that gut feeling is the times I've been burnt.
Okay. So right? it's like your trust factor almost in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah. Like usually I can kind of notice if someone's a visionary or an integrator, and with you I can't really tell. I feel like you're kind of both in a weird way, bro. Like what would you say in that regard?
I would definitely like to play in the like strategic, like visionary space more than I like in the like execution. What I would say is I'm a bit of a
the control freak comes out.
Well, I'm a bit of a Swiss Army knife in that I can't, like, I've got the skill set to do a lot of the back end stuff too, right? So like having the analytics, the ability to like have strong analytical skills with like doing a social science background and then bringing in the business acumen of working in the corporate world and doing a business degree, all those skill sets are things that you can use practically on a day-to-day, and it helps you think better, but that also is a huge contributing factor to being a visionary. Is you have to know how to think, right? You have to know how to think big picture and then boil that down to someone that's doing a day-to-day job and then still have them understand what role they're playing. So I would put myself more in the visionary category than I would in like the, the day-to-day executioner integrator.
Yeah. Cause I find like it would be hard to play both. You know what I mean? But sometimes you have to.
You have to, especially in the early days.
Yeah. Before like a full team is built in.
Yeah.
Even too, like, so let's go to the bar, like the mobile bar. So what's the actual, like, you've told us before, but like, I do really like where the name comes from and like where you pivoted. Like, want to give us like a whole backstory on that?
Sure. Yeah. So, Roberto and I both went to school together. We went to a French high school. And when we started kicking around the idea of doing a mobile bar, we're like, hey, we got to think of a catchy name. So we're like, oh, Biribia, that's amazing, right? Like it means bubbles and beers. It sounds French, so it's like more luxurious. So like when we wanted to build our brand, we wanted it to look elevated, like an elevated brand, and feel like an elevated brand. So we felt like you give anything a French name, it sounds better. So that was kind of the logic behind it. We quickly found out that nobody can fucking say it. So
that's why
we're in the car. We're like, yo, do you know how to pronounce it?
That's why we stayed away from saying. I'll let you say.
Everybody's like bulls and birds.
That's what you think it would be, right?
Yeah. So now we've migrated to B&B mobile bars. It's like how we like talk about it in a general way, so that people don't have to be like, like try to say it in a weird way.
Right?
Yeah. But it also kind of is good for marketing because people will invariably be like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Right?
And then they'll want to ask you about it and like, oh, do you know what this? So it's a talking point at the end of it, right?
Like they'll know what the beer word is.
Yeah.
But they're like, what is that? Right?
Yeah. So talk to us about like your first customer. Like were you the one in the trenches trying to get those leads, or like how did you like become reputable?
Yeah, so Roberto actually locked in our very first client. So when we first started, all we had was 4 whiskey barrels, 2 like wood planked bar tops, and I bought myself a kegerator and I got like a wood veneer put on the kegerator.
And did you guys need sorry to cut you there, but do you need like a liquor license to do this? Like where's that?
No, you don't actually. Yeah. So it's really interesting. It's an interesting industry and how you work it. And I'll get to that. I'll answer the first question first here. So like all we had was this very simple setup. So our first thing that we did was we did a photo shoot in my backyard. So we set everything up, and at the time my wife was kind of playing a role in the business. She's now cycled out of it, but so we did like a photo shoot, we did a couple videos, started going on social media, and then Roberto had a buddy who was doing a backyard wedding, and they only had like a month to plan, and they reached out to us and they're like, hey, do you want to do our wedding? Mm-hmm. So that was our first client. They kind of reached out to us through Roberto, and then we did our first wedding. And that gave us social media content, gave us credibility because we could now put those pictures of us actually working an event on a pamphlet. And then we did a couple of wedding shows with like our very simple setup, got some marketing material, and then we just started booking jobs. Yeah. And then from there it was expanding the fleet to kind of be appealing to more demographics. So like the next thing we did was bought a white champagne cart. Which you could use indoors. Girls loved it for when they were doing like bachelorette parties, bridal showers. So it was a simple setup. We can bartend off of it, or they could just rent it out. And then we did things like game rentals, which I don't really do anymore, but at the time it was like a foot in the door to like get people renting from us. I created another company at the time called Tap Steel Firesides, which was fire pokers, and then the end of it was like a beer handle.
Oh, okay.
We still, in my storage unit, we have like hundreds of them. I still need to sell them. But it became my best seller in year 1. Wow. So in year 1, the reason I did that is like I wanted to get into like markets, bring my bar setup, and then sell these fire pokers. So that was a way for like me to convince market organizers to let me in, because I'm selling something. But then I would talk about the other business. I would talk about B&B. But then we ended up selling like, I think our first year we sold $10,000 in fire pokers.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. That's wild.
So it ended up being our number 1 seller in our first year of business.
That's hilarious.
Like it's no longer that, right? Like
how's that drop off though? Like how do you go from like such a successful first year where it doesn't really pivot?
We didn't have time to do markets anymore because now we were getting booked in the summer, and usually it's like weekend work, going to a market and stuff. So we just didn't have the capacity to make that happen. Yeah. There's still a world where that potentially comes back. Yeah. I would say, because like it is proven to be a moneymaker. We just need to invest time and resources to it.
Yeah.
Capacity for it. Yeah. No, it makes sense.
And then sorry, I want to come back to your question, which was a liquor license.
Yeah, because like even like I'm just very like kind of astonished I don't need one. When you said that, like for me right away, it's like, because that's kind of like the big pivot on a lot of places where they're fighting for a liquor license, where the business you're running is solely off.
Well, I guess
liquor.
It's depending on the location to have the license, right?
It's dependent on the client. So the way we work is what you're paying for service and rental. So you're renting, if you've got a bar set up, you're paying a rental fee for that, and then you're paying for bartending service. If there is a special occasion permit required, that's on the client to obtain that. And the client needs to have all the receipts for all the liquor they bought, and they have to have the liquor there available for us when we arrive, and then we serve it.
Okay.
That's the way it works. That's like the most simplistic way to do it. We operated like that for the first 3 years. I did have a competitor in town that was leveraging another establishment's liquor license, and we're able to provide like full packages where you buy the liquor. We're now merged with that company.
Oh, so you swallowed them up.
So now we have that capability. So we can do full packages now. We can do everything from, I would still say that most of my clients operate in the just rental service space. And then like 25% of my clients will want like everything start to finish, where we go buy the alcohol and everything.
I like that. Like, so you bought them out, the other company, you merged with them, or you collab?
We merged with them. So, you know, this is maybe something interesting for you guys to talk about, is like, I was very deliberate about my strategy in the first couple of years to take out my competition. So when I first started, there was 4 other players in like the London surrounding area. I swallowed them, but in an organic way.
The nice factor almost.
The nice factor, yeah. So my first acquisition was the wobbly wheel, which gave me my horse trailer. That particular owner, he just had personal realities that he wanted out of the business. So I kind of bought that. Still work with him today on other things. He actually does photography and videography. So like there's a good relationship there. And then the second one, that was the wobbly wheel. And then the loaded mule was another competitor out of Petrolia. She also had some personal circumstances that were forcing her out of her business. So I swooped in, we bought that. So that expanded our fleet overnight. And then the tin roof, which was out of Mount Bridges. Jenna, shout out. She's now my full-time events manager.
Oh, wow.
And she had a rig as well. The rig got kind of taken in a separation, so she didn't have access to it, but she was still interested in being a part of like the mobile bar world. And it's really hard to find people that know anything about mobile bars. So to bring in a previous owner in was great. And then lastly, Tap Truck, which was they were my number one competitor in London. As I was going through and orchestrating a big merger and becoming an owner of Forest and working on that deal, I get a phone call from Tap Truck being like, hey, do you want to merge? Let's create like a powerhouse mobile bar business.
That's sick.
So then we kind of figured out how to make that work. We made it work. And now Conrad, who was the owner, is now co-owner with me in B&B with Roberto. So that's awesome. So now we've got like a really, really strong team, and all 4 of us have some level of mobile bar experience.
I love how like your mindset was to take out your competition, but you did it in such a respectful way where like you worked with people as people, you brought them into like they still won at the end. And that's crazy. That's sure. Like, that's really impressive, bro.
Yeah. Like for me, it's about how do we make the business win? It's not about how do I win. It's about how do we make the business the strongest business it can be. And the best way to do that is to bring in good people.
And I think the cool part is too, is like your intentions were to build your business, right? And it is to take out competition, but instead of like,
you still got to be a shark, man.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you got to eat, but at the end of it, you didn't really look at it from a perspective of like taking food away from people, where it was, how can I still leverage your experiences, your knowledge, and then still put it back out there.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you still got to be a good salesperson, right? Like I remember that first deal I did with the wobbly wheel, he had another offer on the table that was actually more lucrative than mine. It was someone that wanted to take the trailer and turn it into a coffee truck. Right.
Yeah.
And like the way I won over that deal was basically saying, listen, you poured your heart and soul into this brand that you created, the wobbly wheel. It looks really great. If you sell to me, I'm not going to change the name.
Yeah,
your legacy will live on. You'll still be able to see it on socials. You'll be like, I did that. I was a part of that, right? Turns it into a coffee truck, like then it's gone, right? Like that wobbly wheel is gone, right? So I kind of like catered to, people's emotions to like get them to understand, okay, there's value here in me partnering with this person and making that transaction happen, right?
Yeah.
And so where do you see this business like going as where it is now, right? Like, can you kind of give us a little more insight how like successful is it? Is it something that's like...
Yeah, like what's the scalability model?
Yeah, like is it something that you see like as a retirement plan? Is this something that you sell off in the future?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of options there. I definitely want to build it out to a point where it is a sellable business. And the scalability model is likely a franchising model.
Yeah.
So, the long-term plan for the business is in, the foreseeable future and, the next year or two, now that we've consolidated the market, will be to really solidify ourselves in the market. So there's still a lot of, I would say, lack of awareness about what a mobile bar business is, like how you can use it. Like a lot of people don't even know that you can have a mobile bar business come into your backyard for an event, right? So it's really creating that brand awareness and letting people know you exist. And then I would say, you know, our goal for 2026 is to have our first franchise location outside of London, build that up, use that as a test pilot, and then continue to expand from there. So, you know, my vision would be in the next 5 to 10 years, we're in multiple markets across Canada. And in a franchise capacity, and we get it to a point where we could sell it for a decent amount of money.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How far does B&B service right now?
So right now we've gone as far as like Grand Bend, Port Stanley, Toronto, and like Chatham Kent. That's kind of the radius. Yeah. We don't typically do a lot in Toronto, just because of the distance. With that being said, the funny thing is a lot of Toronto clients will pay the premium of having us travel, and it's still cheaper for them because they're not paying Toronto prices.
Yeah.
Right. So everything in Toronto is more expensive, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's still cheaper for them to fucking book me and have me travel. And like I've had jobs where literally that's how I've priced it, right? Like I've been like, I don't fucking want to go to Toronto. Like it's this price.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, okay. I'm like, fuck, I guess we're going to Toronto. Like I'm not saying no to that price, right? Yeah, so, but at the end of the day, if the client wants it and they're willing to kind of pay the premium for it, we have to service, right? Yeah. And then we do. So
that's awesome.
And is B&B is that what kind of got you into the event space and throwing events? Because now you're throwing these like sick events, right? And Horizon's coming up in August, right?
Fast, we got coming up too.
Yeah. And then we did. You know, we were a big part of Hyde Park Fest last year.
Yeah. What got you into that?
So that kind of evolved out of the podcast. So, you know, once we started doing the podcast, talking with Paul's a bit of a visionary as well. So like knocking ideas together, you know, the first thing that came out was Fail Fast, where we were like, man, networking events just suck. We want to do something that, you know, the younger generation of entrepreneurs want to go to. It's a fun event. Even if you don't like care for the speaker, it's like a whatever, because you still get the value of being in that room, right? And doing something cool. So that was our first goal, was create an event like that. And I think when we did our first one, we're like, yeah, we can do this. Like it gave us like a boost in confidence where we knew that we could do something bigger. And then I had an opportunity to fall in my lap with Hyde Park Fest, where I was given an introduction to Brad Jones, who owns Rocks the Park and runs Rock the Park. And, you know, in my very first meeting with Brad, he's like, you know what, my son's looking to kick off an event series in London, do something different. He's like, we just bought the Crossings property and we want to do something back there. So he's like, why don't you and Charlie work together on it? And then I had met Brad for like fucking 15 minutes. That's it. And he's like, go run an event. And then I got out of that meeting. I was like, holy fuck. Yeah. I was like, here we go. Right. Yeah. And you know, the event was, it was profitable, but it wasn't like uber profitable. But there was a ton of learning, that came out of that, right? Like just like knowing how to order porta potties and knowing like how much fencing you need and like what kind of documents you need to get signed for stuff and all the hoops you got to jump through with the City of London and getting insurance and all that kind of stuff, all being kind of intimately involved in that, and then intimately involved in going to try to like get all the vendors to agree to come to an event that had never happened before. Well, that was kind of like my main job in all of it. I basically went and I got all the vendors, right? So that was just a learning experience in and of itself. And what I learned is you need to be really organized. Like you can't go to them with like a loose idea. You got to like be like, here's what the package looks like here's what you're getting exactly, right? Because if you don't have that figured out and then you kind of change something later, they're like, well, wait a minute, that's not what we agreed to. So coming into like this season with Horizon Fest, and we're doing another one in October called Oktoberfest, it was really important to get started early. So we started planning for Horizon Fest in October of last year. Just kind of getting our heads together. But again, that happened organically, right? Like we were part of events, and then the Craft Poppy guys just said, hey, we can do something like this. Let's get our heads together and think of an event. And we did. And then became a reality.
Yeah,
right?
manifested.
Yeah. And now like once you put something into the universe, like once you like announce something, you're like, okay, well now it's there. We gotta fucking do it, right?
Yeah.
So you almost like force your hand to do things when you do an announcement. And I've found that that's super helpful. Is let's just say it's happening on June 19th. And we're going to put a poster up there, and we might not have all the back end shit organized, but now it forces us to. Because if we get to June 19th and it's not ready, we look like assholes.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. So
where do you think that mindset comes from? Like have you have role models or anything?
Yeah. Were your parents there? Like, or do you have any siblings that were like?
I don't know, man. It's like an 8. Definitely not my parents. Like my parent, not to say that my parents aren't hard workers, but my parents weren't really entrepreneurial. So it definitely doesn't come from there. I think it's just like a fire that burns in me. Like we weren't super wealthy growing up. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I was poor. I didn't need for anything. Yeah. But I didn't get all my wants, right? Like all those like shiny things, like I couldn't really get, right? So there was always this like burning desire to say, hey, I know like I can like, when I put my mind to something, I can do it, right? And that I think sports is really what created that for me, that competitive fire. 100%. So like, you know, I ended up being captain of the basketball team, like, and like I wasn't the tallest, I wasn't the fastest, but you know, I worked my ass off, right? So just through hard work and like persistence, I knew that I can get shit done. And then I did the same with school, right? Like hard work, persistence, I got a full ride academic scholarship, right? So like I've continuously proven to myself that if I give myself deadlines and if I say I'm going to do something and I execute, I usually get it done. So like, why would it be any different if I set the goal of being, you know, having $5 million in 10 years or $10 million in 10 years or however, whatever that number is? Why would it be any different? If I say I'm going to do it, now I just got to take those steps and get it done, right?
I think you built that reassurance within yourself. It's like if you want to be the best dog walker, and that's the like you would be that, right? It's just more. It's like I think you built that confidence within yourself, which is kind of
and there's always moments of self-doubt, right? Like you're always going to have that, right? So you're constantly like battling like your inner demons of like, fuck, did I make the wrong decision? Or is this going to blow up in my face? And then like, I would say a lot of times if you just stick to the program and you stay consistent, all those doubts end up kind of fading away because it ends up just happening, right?
How does that drive change becoming a parent?
You're doing it for different reasons. Yeah. So like before becoming a parent, you're doing it for like, I would say you're doing it for selfish reasons. Like you're just like personal gain, right? Whereas now being an entrepreneur, I'm motivated to show my daughter what hard work can do, right? Like what you can produce if you put your mind to something. And really it's about creating a value system for my daughter to see. And for anybody else that, you know, would consider me a mentor, you know, is really kind of impressing that upon them. And that's part of what's important to me. Right.
You're even too like the teacher side that you even spoke about really early in the pod does really show, because even too just being a mentor does come down to that, right? You have to be able to share, and also like I do see it. It's like a lot of yours is like you're willing to share everything that you have done and kind of put it out there and just let people learn from it also. For
sure, right? And like, you know, I think one of the parts of being a mentor is you have to be able to be a mentee as well, right? So every relationship I have, there's dynamics where, and like Paul and I is a really great relationship to kind of give this example on. I'm sure that Paul would consider me a mentor in certain aspects of, say, like business development, whereas I consider Paul a mentor in how to tap into creativity, right? So like we're both yin and yang balance. Yeah, we're both kind of benefiting in certain conversations. He's the mentor. And other conversations, he's the mentee, right? And I think that's okay, right? You don't have to be, it's not like a power dynamic, right? So.
No, that's fine. Do you ever find, is it hard to sometimes like receive information from like Paul? Like coming from that perspective of like mentee to mentor, it's like.
No. You know, I think that's one of the things you always need to be open-minded to grow, right? So, and even I'm a big believer that you can learn something from everybody, right? They don't have to be super well educated or whatever. Like people have life experience that you could learn from. you just have to be open-minded to that, right? So yeah, I would say no. I never get that feeling of like, who are you to tell me? Like that never crosses my mind.
And how do you balance like family time and being a monster shark entrepreneur?
Yeah. So again, it's really about being deliberate on standing your ground on like what is important to you. So for me, when I wake up in the morning, I've only got my daughter for an hour before she goes to school, right? So that hour I'm locked in, right? Like I'm getting her ready, we'll have breakfast together. I'll get her changed. I'll drive her to school, right? So then that hour is gone. And then now I'm diving in, doing what I need to do. And then we generally pick her up at around 5:00. And I mean, you guys have kids, right?
Well, I'm expecting a kid.
You're expecting a kid. Okay.
So that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm trying to pick your brain.
What you'll find is, once you get past the diaper stage, and they end up going into daycare, you don't see your kid that much, right? You only see your kid for an hour in the morning, and you see your kid for maybe a couple hours before they go to sleep after school. So that's like 3 hours a day. You could easily, with the million things that you have going on, you could easily spend those 3 hours doing those other things. You have to make a conscious choice to say, no, I'm going to be locked into family, right? In those hours. So that's what I do, right? Like am I guilty of checking my phone during those times? Sure. Absolutely. Right. But I try to be as locked in as possible and spending time with my daughter and my wife in those moments, and then taking time to like go away. Right. And do like have experiences with your family and like, continue to invest in the things that you value. Right. Yeah. Which is your family. Right. But you have to have a partner that gets it. Right. And that wasn't always easy. Right? Like that was probably the hardest part of being an entrepreneur is being married. It's not having a kid, right? Because your kid will kind of like, they don't know what they don't know, right? Yeah. So they're just kind of like, oh yeah, dad works at 8:00. That's fine, right? Like they don't really get it. But your wife gets it. Right? So like that was the biggest challenge, was how everybody else around me is bought into my vision. Yeah. How do I get my wife to buy into the vision, right? And see the big picture? Because when we first started, she's like, I don't know how you're going to make money with this. Yeah. Right.
And you've been with her for a long time, right?
Yeah. We've been together 15 years this year. Yeah. So it's our 10-year wedding anniversary.
That's huge. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. July. Yeah. July 4th.
Okay. You have to remember. Yeah. So like going back to like making her buy into the vision, like how was that?
Difficult. Yeah. So like like I said, she was a part of the business at first. And I thought, oh, it's a no-brainer. I'll just make her an owner. And then she'll have like skin in the game. She'll be invested. She'll want to do it. She'll want to be a part of it. I quickly realized that wasn't the case. She was like, fuck this. I don't want to work weekends. Right. Like I bartended. I did that in my past life. I don't want to do that again. So then I was like, okay, well now we gotta pivot. Yeah. Right. So I was like, okay, well, how do we, it ended up being, a good chip for me to have, because I had someone who owned, 33% of the business or whatever the percentage was, that I could then use as a bargaining chip to like pull other people in, right? Yeah. Say, hey, do you want this percentage, right? So it ended up helping me in terms of orchestrating the deal with Forrest and kind of making all that happen, and that I had that percentage and it was my wife and I didn't have to pay her out. I just had to, it's great leverage. I just had to be like, move aside.
Babe, it's okay. Just give it to me.
So that's what, that's basically what happened there. And then once she stepped out of the business, she became more, I would say, more of a fly on the wall. And like, I could talk to her about like, here's kind of my plan, but not having to give her like all the nitty gritty details, because she was like part of the business. Right. Yeah. So that helped a lot. I still think she's, does she wish that I was just more like, there were days where like I was more just at home and not working weekends, for sure. But I think she knows that this is what makes me happy. And ultimately she kind of sees what I'm working towards. I'm trying to give her an early retirement. So like if I achieve my goal, she won't have to work forever. So like she also gets that, right? So,
It's like it's a trade-off, right? It's like,
it is, right? You want that Birkin bag, then you got to let me do what I got.
Yeah, exactly.
They ain't cheap.
No, they ain't cheap, right? So
it's like this one reel I saw. The guy picks up a phone call and the girl's like, "What are you doing? You're always on your phone." And then he goes, "Yeah." He's like, "How do you think you're in that dress and all this jewelry?" He's like, "Because I'm always on my phone. Like I have to do business and always moving." Right? Just a little funny thing, right?
It is a balance though, right? Like the last 3, like my daughter just turned 4, and the last 3 years we've gone away for a week together down south. You know, times were tough financially. Arguably, could I have said, "Oh, we can't spend that money"? Sure, I could have said that, right? Arguably, I could have brought my daughter with us. I could have said, "Okay, we're doing a family vacation," because a lot of people, like, when they have young kids, everything has to be family, right? Like, and then you lose touch of like who you are as a couple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we deliberately said, no, we're gonna go and we're gonna invest in each other, right? And 7 days out of 365 isn't that much. You got to do it, right? You got to keep dating each other after you have a kid, right? And I would argue that having a business is like having a child.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
you could spend all your time with that child and like make them like the center of your world at the expense of everything else.
Yeah.
But you got to be conscious enough not to do that because everything else will suffer for it, right?
100%.
So it's about balance, right?
Yeah. That's important though, like working on those core relationships that really are the foundation of like what you can provide to the world in a way, right?
And your friendships too, right? Like you'll find as you guys become deeper involved in entrepreneurship, like
friendships struggle.
They do. And all you want to talk about is your businesses.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's your baby, right? It's like, it's the thing that like brings you the most joy and like the most pain sometimes. And you just want to talk about it. Right. And then they're just like, can you just shut the fuck up? I don't want to hear about your cleaning business, or I don't want to hear about your fucking podcast anymore, or the stuff you got going on. I just want to like chill and have a beer and watch a hockey game or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
It's like that one comment where they say, it's like, oh, that's why like a lot of entrepreneurs like to hang out with entrepreneurs, right? Cause you're all just talking about your businesses, but it does go back to where you can't kind of forget where you came from, where you have to have those.
It makes me think sometimes too, though, right? Because it's like not to say you outgrown those people, right? But like in some situations there are a disadvantage where if you stick too long, it's bringing you down too, right? So it's like it's tough. It's situational based, right?
Yeah, right. And I think we had to talk where it's like it's hard not want to still like resonate with them, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like those are the people that you grew with, but at the same time, like you aren't the same person that you were when you first met them, kind of idea, right?
Yeah, and I think it's okay to outgrow people.
Yeah,
like I think it's okay, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you go through phases in your life, like you go through seasons in your life of change, right? And there's going to be people that just don't add that value that they did, and not to say that everybody has to. You have to get something out of every relationship,
or an expiry date on everybody. Yeah, right?
But I mean, if organically you just feel like, hey, like I'm giving more than I'm kind of receiving type of thing in this relationship, it's okay to let go, right? If that makes sense for you. I find myself organically spending more time with other entrepreneurs, to your point, and other people that like challenge me, that I always try to like hang out with people that are doing better than me. Yeah. Because then it forces me to like try to like keep up, right? And like
the sports
punching above my weight class a little bit, right?
And like sticks in your subconscious. You're okay. Like,
well, it gives you a challenge, right? And then just by virtue of like only having so many hours in a day, you find yourself spending less time with those other people, because those are the people that are making you better, right? The other people that you're seeing. So
in a way, I almost think like entrepreneurship is very similar to sports, right? It's like that competitiveness that you did like when you were playing like soccer, basketball, football, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
You do encounter it in entrepreneurship, right? And I think that's why they resonate so well, where it's like you do have a lot of top athletes or top people like that who have this like mindset where it's like they pivot into entrepreneurship because it still gives them that same thrill or that like, I guess that want.
Well, and there's also like the aspect of kill or be killed, right? Like just because I've consolidated the market doesn't mean other competitors can't come in, right? Like just yesterday, I shot Conrad, my business partner, a screenshot of a new mobile bar business that just started, right? It's like there's a low barrier to entry. People are going to try. Well, now we got a competitor, right? Yeah. And if you got deep pockets, you got a couple $100,000 that you want to like throw at this business, you can build it really quickly.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's always a threat. But you got to be. I don't focus too much on what my competition's doing. Like, I think you got to be aware of your competition and like the things that are happening in your industry. But I don't like lose sleep over what my competition's doing, right? I just focus on, hey, I know what we're doing is building something special. We're continuously like growing in different ways, and that's all you can do is focus on the things you can control, right?
I think in business is like as long as you're not stagnant, as long as like you're working to like better your business or your employees or like do something, you're good. But if the second you're stagnant, it's like that's when you get too comfortable, and then you have these contracts for 30 years and then you lose it to the new guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's so key is incremental gains. Like that is, I would say, the thing that positively impacted my business the most is just doing one little thing every single day. It can be write an email to like a new prospect. It could be, working on a marketing post, just doing that one little thing every single day. And then you multiply that by 365 and you see how far you get. Right. And then when you have people that work in your organization, it's encouraging them to do the same thing. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, do your day stuff that you need to do, but then do that other little thing, that one thing every day that's going to potentially grow the business. Right. Yeah. And then if everybody does that, you've got 1,200 touch points now. If you're 4 people, you've got 1,200 touch points that could lead to more sales, more growth, more networking, more partnerships, right?
Yeah.
I did want to ask, like, what are the core values of BNB? Because I know you said that was a very staple thing to like discuss with your team. What is it?
Yeah. So like one of our core values is supporting local. Through like local partnerships and networking. That's a big one. Be firm but fair. So one of the things that like we realized very quickly, or at least that I realized very quickly becoming an entrepreneur, is I really care about things being fair. And that's more about in my like dealings with other vendors and dealings with like business partners, right? I wouldn't want to be, if I wouldn't want to be on the other side of a deal, then I won't make that deal. Right. I want it to be fair.
That's a good perspective.
Right. But I also think you need to be firm, right? So, and what I mean by that is like, you need to kind of stand behind your values and not kind of compromise. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And that actually is a good segue into another core value, which is taking accountability. So, we all make mistakes. We all, fumble the bag sometimes. It's okay, but you got to take accountability, right? You got to say, here's what I did, here's where I messed up, and here's what I'm going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again, right? Internally. So
I like that core value a lot.
Yeah. And then it's not really a core value. It's more of like our mission, but have fun and entertain is kind of like what we live by and like the brand we want to create. And, I always said the moment I stop having fun doing this business, it's time for me to be out. Right.
Yeah.
So, it's got to be fun for us and it's got to be entertaining for the client and creating an experience. So, as long as we're continuously creating that experience for the customer and we're having fun doing it, then we're doing something right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. I do want to ask you the question that we asked all of our guests, actually.
Okay.
Do you think the little kid version of you, would they be proud of the man you are today? And why?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. I think the little kid version of me would see someone who's, built a strong foundation for their family and isn't just satisfied with, hey, because I had the good job, I have the house, I have the nice car. Like I had all that before entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. And a lot of people would say like, well, why didn't you just keep doing what you were doing? Like you had it all, like materially, right? But I kind of challenged myself to kind of go beyond that and say, okay, well, what actually makes me happy? And to me, entrepreneurship does that. So I think the smaller version of me will be proud to kind of see someone who is chasing after their dreams. Because every kid is chasing after a dream, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we always say that like there's always a little kid in all of us, right? So like that dream chase is still you.
Do you feel like you're living your dream at this point?
I think I'm working my way towards my dream, right? Living my dream wouldn't be working 90 hours a week, right? Like I don't want to be doing this forever. But I've got lots of confidence in that the things I'm doing on a day-to-day are the things I need to be doing to create the reality I want to create. Yeah.
That's fire.
Yeah. I mean, I'm living my dream from the perspective of like, I have a wife and a child that's happy and healthy. that's a great place to start, right?
Yeah.
I'm very appreciative for the things I do have, and I don't take them for granted because I know they can be gone very quickly. So from that perspective, yes, I'm living the dream. But I still think there can be more.
Yeah. No, 100%. I hear that.
Yeah.
No, honestly, like, is there anything you want to promote on your end, or anything you want to?
A bunch of events coming up, so we drop those hard and let everyone know what we're doing.
Yeah, maybe like when will this come out?
So this will be out next Wednesday or next Thursday.
Yeah,
next Thursday. Yeah, so a week from now.
Okay. Yeah, there's definitely a couple of things going on that I think your listeners would be interested in. The first one that's coming up is June 19th is Fail Fast 4. So that's, if you haven't heard of Fail Fast, what it is it's an opportunity for local entrepreneurs, business owners to kind of all get together, do something fun, and then hear from a couple of great guest speakers. So it's actually, we're doing an influencer edition. Yep. So local influencers, Megan, who runs the London Coffee Club,
at 45 owner.
At 45 owner.
We've had her on before too.
Yeah. So she's going to be one of our speakers, and then we've got Ariel Taylor, who's a professional surrogate. She's done surrogacy like 5 or 6 times, and she actually turned her social media, going viral on social media, into her own practice and her own business. So she kind of started in social media and then become a business owner, which is a really kind of cool spin on it.
The monetization of like herself. Okay.
Yeah. And then I'll be kind of kicking things off as like our first speaker.
Of course, master over here.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say master. I mean, we've been able to build our social media brand, pretty well. So I'll kind of just talk about some tips and tricks and how to do that. So that's June 19th. And then of course, August 8th and 9th, we just announced Horizon Fest. So we're bringing a vibe to London.
Santorini.
Yeah. Santorini vibes, Mediterranean vibes, kind of beach club, think kind of cabana pool bar vibes. We're doing some stuff that London hasn't seen before. Gonna do some outdoor VIP in Springbank Gardens, with bottle service. So I don't think there's been an outdoor event with bottle service yet.
No, it's going to be crazy. That's going to be crazy. Yeah, it's London's first.
Yeah. So we're bringing that.
Too, I tried to look and there's nothing. It's never happened. So
yeah. So we're doing that. We've got a great lineup of 11 DJs, all local talent. Our headliner on day 2 is actually DJ Double Down, who was a local legend. Jim Bob Rays, he was like their DJ. And now he basically he DJs the Rock the Park version of Ottawa called Blues Fest.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
So he's the Blues Fest DJ. So
awesome.
He does like the DJ Alpha version of that. Actually, shout out DJ Alpha. He's the one who hooked me up with Double Down. So yeah, great lineup of DJs. There's going to be some great food. We're still working on getting some vendors lined up for it. So we're announcing those as we go.
If they, to let them know if they want.
Yeah, anybody that's interested in kind of being a part of it, we still have, we're working on getting our title sponsor. We have a couple of people that are interested, but we haven't locked it in yet. So if you want to be title sponsor and have your name plastered all over Horizon Fest, give us a call. And then lastly, Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of people that do Oktoberfest, but we're doing a true fucking Oktoberfest. Like in the park, a bunch of wooden tables lined up. Everybody's gonna have a stein. We're gonna have some crazy music. It's gonna be it's gonna be a vibe. So so that's gonna be October 3rd and 4th.
Okay.
And that's being put on by B&B and Forest.
Okay. That's sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah. Those are the 3 big ones. There's obviously always stuff that pops up along the way, but yeah. And then to follow us, handles on Instagram. Sorry, you can cut that one out. Got a frog in my throat. Handle on. I need to.
We can take a little bit. He's got to drop this one hard.
Just take a sip of the Forest.
The Forest.
Forest. It saves your life.
Let's do a little promotion on this one. Yeah. See, Forest, Canadian brand right here.
It's actually
London,
really good beer.
Right from
really
London.
Good beer.
This is the spot right here.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, so you can follow Forest at Forest Brewery. And follow B&B at Bill, BULLES _ET _BIERES.
We'll have it up here.
And then Industry Night Podcast, you can also follow us there. And then if you want to follow me personally, it's The Richer Path is the handle.
I love that last
name.
name
Is fire, right?
Yeah. No, awesome. And honestly, Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime this year, you know what I mean? Because you're closing our network and we just want to chat more with you.
I love the idea of doing pod versus pod with Paul.
Honestly, do it. Because we've had Paul before. We've had you on solo. Let's do both of them now.
We'll do like some kind of a game or something with it.
I'm down. I'm fucking down.
Like a game show or something.
Yeah.
Do something like a 2v2.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
What's that one game? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Stay tuned for this though.
Yeah, you'll see us at all these events. Make sure to tune in.
Yeah. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And again, you guys got spoiled with another great episode. Yeah. Take it easy. Peace.
Thanks, guys.